Now, when it comes to our next story, this is actually related to what I have considered to be the biggest animation news of 2025, or even the biggest entertainment news of 2025. And that was when Netflix officially acquired Warner Brothers. That after the big long battle between Paramount, Netflix, and Comcast, the streaming service came out as the big winner. And from there, for a good while, we were anticipating and preparing ourselves to see what the future is going to hold with Netflix and Warner Brothers ultimately coming together. What does that mean for streaming services? What does that mean for movie theaters? And what does that mean for our entertainment? Well, whatever speculations that you may have, you might as well go and throw it out the window, because it is not gonna happen anymore. And suddenly, a massive twist to the story occurred, where now it's no longer gonna be Netflix who's going to acquire Warner Brothers. So yeah, the good news is the Netflix-Warner Brother merger is not happening. The bad and even worse news is that now Warner Brothers is gonna belong to Paramount. Yes, it was specifically on Thursday, February 26th, when Warner Brothers put out the very unexpected announcement that they decided that, you know what, the deal that Paramount made actually looks a lot better. Hey, Netflix, would you like to go and make a counter argument on this? Yep, just out of nowhere, Warner Brothers decided that they want to go and take Paramount's deal, believing that it is actually a lot more appealing and that they actually made a way better offer in a deal that I believe is said to be around $110 billion or $111 billion in total. In fact, to go into the specifics from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, it actually says, where is it? Yes, right over here, to which it states, Paramount Skydance's latest proposal was for $31 per share, but had a number of other sweeteners, including a ticking fee payable to shareholders equal to 25 cents per quarter beginning after September 30th, 2026, as well as a $7 billion regulatory termination in the events the transaction does not close due to regulatory matters. Paramount has also agreed to pay the $2.8 billion termination fee that Warner Brothers would be required to pay to Netflix to terminate the existing merger agreement. The revised offer came days after negotiations between Paramount Skydance and Warner Brothers Discovery, with Netflix allowing for a negotiating window to be open so that the matter could be resolved. So they stepped in with a better offer, and Warner Brothers felt like, you know what, this is actually better than what we may get with Netflix. So from there, they asked Netflix if they would like to do a counteroffer. And in that case, well, Netflix has said no. They decided not to go and make an offer, and they decided, oh, you know what? I think we're going to keep with what we have here. Our offer that we've done, it stands to be perfectly fine. And I just want to go and state, by the way, I kind of forgot to mention this a little before, but these kinds of things, they are pretty common when it comes to mergers, that suddenly you have your competitor who steps in to go and make a better offer, and then suddenly that puts you in a position to do your next move where you should go and make a way better offer than what they would go and make. It's kind of like with what happened with the Disney-Fox merger, when Fox wanted to go and sell, and there were a few people that were interested, and then all that was left was either Disney or Comcast. And while Disney was actually close to like finishing the deal and it would be all set, suddenly Comcast actually stepped in and said that they had a better offer to go and present, which in return, Disney actually responded by saying, you know what, screw it. We're going to go and make an even better offer than what Comcast proposed, which in return, Comcast backed down, and that's how we got the Disney-Fox merger. So those situations, they are pretty common that they do happen. But what is uncommon, however, is that when the competitor would go and actually make the offer, suddenly the one who initially won said, "Nah, I'm good." And that's exactly what happened here, where Netflix decided not to go and compete with Paramount's new offer, in which the CEOs stated right over here, again from my source on The Hollywood Reporter, Netflix co-CEOs Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters released a statement Thursday outlining their decision, namely that the deal is no longer financially attractive and that it was always a nice to have at the right price, not a must-have at any price. The transaction we negotiated would have created shareholder value with a clear path to regulatory approval. However, we've always been disciplined, and at the price required to match Paramount Skydance's latest offer, the deal is no longer financially attractive, so we are declining to match the Paramount Skydance bid. And from there, because they decided to go and back down, that's when Paramount was now announced as the big winner. That now it looks like Warner Brothers is going to be heading towards not just Paramount, but in the hands of the Ellison family, like David Ellison and Larry Ellison. It is also worth noting, by the way, that as I am recording this today, there was actually an announcement made by Paramount with some of their future plans with what they want to do with Warner Brothers. And for the most part, a lot of it is pretty much the same thing as what Netflix proposed before. Like when it comes to theatrical releases, they want to go and do the same thing with the 45-day exclusivity in just movie theaters, and then suddenly it would be coming out on digital and streaming and physical media and stuff like that. So they already planned out like kind of the same thing, except there are two significant differences when it comes to Paramount now owning Warner Brothers. Beforehand, with the Netflix deal, Netflix just wanted the studio of Warner Brothers. They just wanted the library of movies and shows and other films that they had produced along with the studios themselves of Warner Brothers. Beforehand, they just wanted that. Considering that Warner Brothers Discovery did reveal in the past that they wanted to go and split themselves, where they want to separate the studio and the streaming service along with it, and the TV channels such as TBS, Cartoon Network, CNN, and several others. However, in the case of Paramount, they want it all. They don't want Warner Brothers to separate. Now they actually want to own everything, not just the studio, not just the library, not just the streaming service with HBO Max, but also all those TV channels. They want to own everything. And speaking of streaming, by the way, that's another thing that they have revealed. They also want to go and actually make a fusion of Paramount Plus and HBO Max. We don't know when specifically, when they want to go and actually make that merger, but that is definitely a part of their plans, so that they want their streaming service to go and directly compete with Netflix. So yeah, that's pretty much the big news that happened. So we're not going to have a future where Netflix owns Warner Brothers. It's now going to be Paramount. That worst case scenario that we did fear, sadly, it's going to be going towards that direction. And I mean, I do understand before that many people were not excited about the news of the Netflix Warner Brothers merger. People were not excited for that to go and happen, and it did leave out a lot more questions than it does answers in regards to what's going to happen to streaming, what's going to happen to movie theaters, what's going to happen to those particular projects with movies and shows and all that kind of stuff. Like, there were many concerns and questions. But now with Paramount, it feels like it's about to get so much worse than the speculations that we would go and make with Netflix, because this is pretty much like an even bigger nightmare scenario than what people have come to expect with the Disney Fox merger. Because first and foremost, this already feels like this is going to be a massive disaster, especially when it's going to be in the hands of the Ellisons, who have yet to prove that they have done a good job with Paramount. Keep in mind that as I am recording this, it has not even been a full year since Skydance's acquisition of Paramount. Like they were able to do so back in July of 2025, and we're right now February of 2026. So that is still a long way to fully determine if the Ellisons were the right people to go and actually own Paramount and if they're doing a good job. And from some of the things that we've been seeing, no, it's been pretty bad, actually, especially with the way that Barry Weiss has been handling CBS News, trying so hard to make it like some kind of Fox News wannabe, continuously praising Donald Trump and all that kind of garbage. Like that has already turned out to be a failure, not just in terms of management, but even with ratings. It's just been a massive flop, where bankruptcy of CBS News is not necessarily out of the question. It feels like it could be looming in closer to closer the more that we see this type of management just being handled. So right there, like, we don't even know that David Ellison would actually have, or the Ellison family in general, we don't know if they actually have the qualifications in order to run a major studio, let alone freaking two at the same time. So that's already a major problem. And this is not to mention, by the way, about the fact that with the Ellisons, they have been major allies of Donald Trump. In fact, they are a part of Donald Trump's right-hand men and doing whatever they can in order to make him happy, in order to go and keep making things go his way. Basically, trying to do what they can in order to go and turn Paramount, and now wanting to do the same with Warner Brothers, into absolute authoritarian propaganda machines. Basically tried to make it one step closer to turn the US into North Korea, especially with the media that they would go and consume just be completely biased to not just Donald Trump, to absolute white nationalism or just straight up fascism in general. So the prospects of that is also extremely nightmarish. So the poor treatment of CBS News that we have been seeing right now, I could guarantee you they're ready to go and do the same thing with stuff like CNN and some of the other assets that Warner Brothers owned. And by the way, I just want to go and say this, because I know there are going to be some people out there that are going to be like, oh, well, that doesn't affect me at all. I don't talk about politics. I don't care about politics. I could just go and ignore it and just enjoy my stuff that I like to watch, like with Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon. Oh, you're going to regret saying that, because I can guarantee you that with this merger, it's going to affect whatever you may watch, regardless if you pay attention to politics or you avoid it like the plague. The handling of the Ellisons and trying to really enforce that nationalist approach on their businesses, and even on Paramount and on Warner Brothers, it will be affecting what you watch. It will be affecting the movies that you're anticipating for, and it will affect the shows that you currently enjoy or that what you may want to go and check out. So yes, it will affect your media regardless. And this is not even to mention about the prospects of how much they are going to own. I mean, this is the worst case scenario that we've been talking about, that in terms of animation, that we are going to see that odd, unusual fusion of Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers library along with Nickelodeon. It's just going to be this ugly synergy mishmash that, like that kind of mega crossover that nobody really asked for. And looking into like how this has happened, it's not really as admirable as we have seen in something like Who Framed Roger Rabbit or the recent Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie. So in that regards, it's just like it's just gonna feel wrong altogether, especially now that the Ellisons and Paramount, they have pretty much become exactly what people claim Disney is, especially after that merger with Fox. But with that all said, however, I just want to go and put out a statement that I know that I have no control over any of your actions or what can you do and stuff like that. But one thing I can say is that you should not go and lose hope. Because as frightening as the prospects are in this, one thing we do have to go and keep in mind is that this is far from over. Yes, Paramount has been declared the winner, but that doesn't mean that they immediately got Warner Brothers in their hands. I mean, keep in mind that with these mergers, they take a lot of time, not just months, but years. Like even Disney, like it took them quite some time before they were able to go and fully acquire Fox. I mean, it was announced that they were about to do so in 2017, and they weren't able to actually make that happen and make the transaction occur until 2019. So it's going to be the same thing with this. And I can guarantee you there is going to be some pushback, and we're already seeing that right now. In fact, we actually got comments from the California Attorney General that he wants to go and open up an investigation. So going into my source here on Deadline, it actually states that over here, Paramount and Warner Brothers is not a done deal. California Attorney General Rob Bonta told Deadline this evening after Netflix dropped out bidding for Warner Brothers studio and streaming assets. He continued by saying that these two Hollywood titans have not cleared regulatory scrutiny. The California Department of Justice has open investigation, and we intend to be vigorous in our review. Not to mention that there have been others as well who have been openly critical about this merger. Just in general, by the way, not just with Paramount, but also even when Warner Brothers was getting ready to merge with Netflix. We even got a few of those comments as well, in which we also have this comment, and this was from before Paramount really twist this story, in which the Attorney General says, the film and entertainment industry not only has historical importance to our state, it also is a critical sector that buoys the state's economy of California and touches the lives of Americans daily. The proposed Warner Brothers transaction must receive a full and robust review, and California is taking a very closer look. On top of that, we also got a comment here from Senator, who is it again? Senator Adam Schiff. Yeah. So Senator Adam Schiff also did put out a comment in which he says here, what was true for Netflix is still true now for Paramount. The merger of two Hollywood's biggest studios must be subject to the highest level of scrutiny, free from White House political influence, to determine its impact on American jobs, freedom of speech, and the future of one of our nation's greatest exports. And on top of that, even back during like when it was Netflix and Warner Brothers, there have been some GOP members who actually did express a lot of concerns. In fact, it even says here, on the other side of America's fractured political spectrum, the cautions expressed by Bonta and Schiff were mirrored to some extent by 11 GOP attorney generals in a letter sent to Pam Bondi on the same day of the State of the Union. On the back of a DOJ antitrust probe launched on February 20th, the state's attorney generals on February 24th told the federal attorney general they wanted to express our concerns that the proposed mergers between Netflix and Warner Brothers will likely result in undue market concentrations that stifles competition and therefore create higher prices, lower reliability, and less innovation for one of America's major industries, all to the detriment of American consumers. And hopefully they will feel the same way with the merger between Warner Brothers and Paramount. So overall, just keep in mind that this is far from over. Yes, now it looks like it's going to go into the hands of Paramount, but that doesn't mean that they get to keep it immediately. There is still a long way to go, and there could be some forces that could prevent it. You never know if somehow in the future things could actually change, and maybe this merger might not even happen at all, or maybe Warner Brothers may not end up being with Paramount after all. I mean, this is actually a prominent example. For a while, we thought Netflix is going to get Warner Brothers, and then suddenly that narrative just completely shifted, where now it looks like it's going to go to Paramount. And in that case, maybe in the future, it could suddenly switch again, where suddenly there's something that maybe a massive block road that could prevent this from happening. But for now, though, if you want to go and take action, if there's something that you can do about it, I remember talking to a friend of mine about this, and really, if you want to go and express your concerns, I mean, there is always the action of boycotting, that you could go and unsubscribe to HBO Max. You can unsubscribe to Paramount Plus if you have those. But on top of that, you should also go and try to stick it to the Ellison family and their fortune. If you have anything that is connected to Oracle, which is the main source of the wealth of the Ellison family, then either boycott that or unsubscribe to whatever services that are linked to that. And also, if you can, there's also TikTok that you could go and boycott and just get rid of your phones. Considering that now the Ellisons have a majority stake of the US version of the app. So yeah, there are some actions that you can do for now. And I understand if this is frightening, if this is scary, but one thing that you need to say to yourself now is that this is not over yet. So that's just the big message that I want to go and express. So with that said, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to go and ask you all, what do you think of Paramount now pretty much in a position where they're about to go and acquire Warner Brothers? I know you might have a lot to say, so let me know what you think, and I know we may not necessarily have a lot of time before the next break, so I'll do my best to go through as much of your comments as I can. So let's see here. I remember when I saw this news, and to say I felt disgusted would be nothing short of an understatement. With how awful Skydance has been handling Paramount, I can't help but feel nervous about the future of Warner Brothers. Granted, I could be wrong and this could turn out to be good, but the chances of that are like 1,000,000,000 to 1. In short, eat the rich, David Ellison's a bitch, Trump can expire in a ditch, AniMat live on Twitch, and my neck has an itch. I didn't think of this rhyme through. Yeah, don't worry, man. Go and sharpen your Dr. Seuss skills, man. I like, you were at a good pace, but you need to go and, sharpen it up. It needs a little more practice. Anyways, on a more serious note, let's see. We live in the worst timeline, don't we? I'm baffled that Paramount, the last place loser of a major studio, is going to consume the competitor that's bigger than them. Our only hope is for regulations to stop this madness, because Hollywood should not be ruled by the Nepo baby who wants to uncancel creep like John Lasseter and Brett Ratner. This is scary, man. Oh, and not to mention there's also Max Landis, which apparently Paramount actually hired him to go and write the new G.I. Joe movie, which already is a clear sign that if that feature ever comes to life, it's going to turn out to be a freaking disaster. Let's see here. Let's see. It's crazy because Paramount wanted to get Warner Brothers since the late 80s, but got blocked and the courts favored Time Inc. It shows constant pressure and harassment just works for these people. It's very concerning because not only they own two of the biggest media companies, allowing it to own CBS and CNN, but also US operations of TikTok. Also, Oracle has a stake in AI too. It's way too much media control for one company, but I am hoping the merging legal process would take so long that the midterms would change things up. Now, I understand, man. I mean, again, you cannot lose hope, and there's always a chance that things could change. So anyways, let's see. So yeah, it happened. What would be the worst timeline is officially happening. Two of the biggest corporate conglomerates are going to be one entity, but I do want to keep the optimistic hope that this incoming merger falls apart because this is clearly breaking antitrust laws since it's been repeated countless of times that the competition is essential to an economy, even if it's beyond broken. Also, very weird that both companies are in severe debt. Do they think they're going to pay it off with this? Oh boy, yeah, that is true. I mean, like they did state that now they're going to be in critical debt over this, so we'll see how it goes on that. That's going to be another major issue again if that does happen. Let's see now. One self-destructive entertainment conglomerate with another intractable debt load is buying an even more self-destructive entertainment conglomerate with an even more intractable debt load. Netflix has probably never even wanted Warner Brothers. It just wanted Paramount to destroy itself. Disney is still paying off their Fox acquisition, and they have Marvel, Star Wars, theme parks, and Frozen money. What makes Paramount think they'll be able to pay off an even bigger debt load just with SpongeBob money? Again, it's the Ellisons. They'll try to pay off with Oracle money. That's their plan of what they want to do. All right, I'll read one more comment and then we'll go and move on to our next break. Let's see here. Why? Just why? We already had an ending to all this. Warner Brothers could have dodged a bullet by going with Netflix, since I honestly thought that going with Netflix was the best option for Warner Brothers, but nope. Now we have to live in a future where the Ellison family owns all of Warner Brothers. On top of that, that means we'll have Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon owned by the same studio. I really hope that this merger doesn't happen, but for now, I don't have any hope for this. But you should, man. You got to keep that hope. Because, I mean, let's be honest. As terrible as this news is, what else do we have to, what else do we have in order to expect that maybe things can get better? I'm just saying.